In this video, we're going to be going over the program handbook. This is an important resource that you're going to want to download and keep on your computer. Now, in today's video, we're just going to be going over some of the basics, but you will want to at least go through the program handbook and be familiar with the contents. You don't necessarily need to memorize them, but at least know what's in there. So if you have a question, you can often turn to the program handbook and find an easy solution. So with that, let's just highlight some of the more important areas of the handbook. Well, let's first familiarize ourselves with the table of contents. You can see the program handbook, the cover page here. We're simply going to advance forward to the table of contents. Again, make sure that you're familiar with what's in here. You don't, by no means do you need to memorize everything, but know where some of these major subjects are. So if you do have a question, it's very easy. You can turn to this at any time of the day or night and have your questions answered immediately. But with that, again, this is not meant to be a complete review of the handbook. That will be your responsibility to review the entire thing. But let's just go over and highlight some of the basics. The first thing I want to call your attention to will be on page 5. And you can see here we got the welcome and other things that are in here. But let's just move right on to page 5. On page 5, I want to have you look at the program mission statement. I want you to be familiar with at least 3 kind of fundamental parts of your program. And the first one is that mission statement. And if you read it here, it's to support career advancement and academic progression by providing a balanced plan of study for medical imaging professionals in a flexible, responsive, and engaging learning environment. So we focus all of our activity, all of our new course development, however we retool new courses, are focused on this mission statement. Program goals, this is basically saying what we want to accomplish with a student by the time that they're done. And the first one is to prepare students for a successful career progression in medical imaging. And that can be in many different ways, many different paths, whether it's advanced imaging such as CT or MRI. Maybe for you, successful career progression is going on into education or going on into medical imaging informatics or in some other direction. But that is kind of one of the functions, the goals of this program, is to provide that progression for you. It is fundamentally different from an associate's degree program, which their primary goal is entry-level employment for a student. Again, our goal is, beyond that, moving you forward and through your career after that entry-level piece. So again, kind of a fundamental difference. The second program goal is to provide students with a balanced and diversified education to promote multiple career opportunities. Kind of in that first one, I was talking about what is successful career progression. It can mean a lot of things to different people. We want to give you the greatest chances of whatever that might be, again, in maybe medical imaging informatics, education, quality management, leadership, healthcare management. We want to try to give you a kind of a multiple effect there. And then number 3 is to prepare students for continuation to a graduate level education. Some of you will go on for getting your master's degree, and we want to be able to at least provide that foundation. That's kind of a basic function of most bachelor programs, is to provide that as well. So those are the mission statement, the goals, and then we have this thing called program learning outcomes. These are things that we actually measure throughout your time here, and it's kind of happens behind the scenes, but we use various mechanisms to measure the program's performance. For example, it might be a mock registry that you'll take, or it could be a major paper or project. And we use that to see if we're actually meeting these program learning outcomes. And we have 3 learning outcomes that are tied into, again, to the goals and, again, up into the larger mission statement. And the first one is to demonstrate knowledge of advanced imaging modalities that supports post-primary certification. Now, some of you have post-primary certification. Some of you may have no desire to get certified in other modalities. But one of our key fundamentals is to support that. Now, it's okay if you decide not to advance forward in that particular arena. Having a knowledge of other modalities will never hurt you in your career. Number 2, exhibit the essential managerial skills necessary in the direction of a medical imaging department. Do you have that fundamental healthcare management knowledge? Do you understand the dollars and cents, if you will, of healthcare? We want to make sure that you have that. And again, we're going to be measuring this as you go along through projects that you're already doing for your courses. Again, you won't be asked to do anything extra, but it is something that we do monitor. And then the third one is to understand the role of research in support of technical applications in medical imaging. That goes into your quality management class, your medical imaging informatics class, your research class. Are you internalizing these concepts that were presented to you in those courses? And again, we're going to measure those. For example, we may use your performance on you're going to be doing a PACS project, a PACS research request for proposal project, and we will look at your grades on that to see if students actually grasp what we're trying to do. Now, let's say if as a whole, if we see the program isn't necessarily grasping a certain topic that we want them to do, that's where we look at it kind of a feedback, a corrective mechanism to make sure that we have that quality in place. So it's kind of a quality control as well. If students aren't necessarily getting a certain topic, then we got to look, well, where did that not happen? How can we fix that? So just know that there is a lot of quality control happening behind the scenes with your program. You won't be necessarily asked to do anything. It just happens as you're going through the program. But I want to make you aware of that. Let's go on to our next kind of area I would like to highlight. Okay, advancing forward to page 10. Here I just want to touch on the grading policy for the program and the late penalty for a majority of your assignments here. The grading policy is something to be very acutely aware of because it is different than maybe other schools that you've attended. And it can come back to bite you if you're not aware of it. If you notice that we have no A minuses, no B pluses, it's all straight letter grades here at Mercy College. And also know the break of where those letter grades are. I know that you're all very acutely attuned to what your grades are going to be. You're going to be monitoring that, and knowing where those letter grade breaks are at is very important. So the big one that can catch people off guard if they're not aware of how our grading policy works is that a 93 to 100% is an A. So if you added all your points up at the end of the course and you got a 92 and you think, oh, that's great, I got a 92. And then you look on Empower and you realize, oh, I only got a B. Again, a 92 is actually a B. For some other institutions, it might be an A or A minus. But for us, we do have, this is a baccalaureate level, kind of ratcheted things up a little bit. You want to make sure that you're kind of in that comfortable zone, that 93 or better, or be aware of of where the breaks are at on the grading scale here. Late assignments, it is very important that you get your assignments in on time. The biggest problem that we have is, and we understand as faculty members that many of you have a lot of different priorities on your plate: work, family, and then school on top of it. And we're very sensitive to that. And we will work with the student as long as they're working with us in good faith to get that assignment in, to do kind of what's good for both the instructor, the course objectives, and for the student. So please communicate with your instructor. If you think you're going to be late on an assignment, please communicate with them. In most cases, as long as you got a really, valid reason, they are more than willing to, not have any late penalties, as long as they know what's going on. But with that being said, if we have no feedback from a student, the assignment just is not in the Dropbox, there is a 10% grade reduction for every day that it's late. So the takeaway message here is please communicate, let us know. Again, we know we've been dealing, with students who have, again, adult learners with a lot of situations going on. Just let us know, and we're more than happy to work with you. It's when we don't know is when the grades, we could have a penalty going on for late assignments. All right, let's move on to our next topic, which is just directly on the next pages here. We're going to talk a little bit about proctored testing, which is on page 11. What a proctored test is, it's a test where basically someone watches you take the test. And there are many mechanisms to have something proctored. You could be actually watched through a webcam, which is a technology that we have available while you're taking the test. Or more often than not, you'll be watched by another human being. Now, the way that we use proctor testing is right now we're formulating on how we're going to be doing this. It will be done minimally throughout your time here. You will not need to come to Toledo. This is something that'll be done right in your local, hometown, wherever you live. And it may be done only 2 or 3 times throughout your entire career here at Mercy College. And again, we're still kind of working out on when we might do it. You'll know months in advance on when it's going to happen. But here's what it would look like. Let's say, for example, you're taking a CT class, our CT protocols class, and the final is there. Now, for us, the CT protocol class is kind of your culmination of all of the CT classes that you've had. There's basically 4 classes that kind of build upon each other in a way that culminate in that CT protocol or applications course. And that final would kind of be everything all included in there, if you think about it, because it really talks about how you actually scan a patient. So you're incorporating physics and sectional anatomy, patient care, all of it comes together on that particular final. So that might be a great thing for us to proctor. What we would do, you would know months in advance that that particular final would need to be proctored. And as you can see on we'll advance to page 12, there are a ton of places that you can have something proctored. You could have a librarian proctor the test for you. You can have your clergy person at your church, your minister, watch you take a final. So again, it's very flexible. Even your hospital education counselor can watch you take it, a librarian. I think I mentioned that before. And almost all colleges, universities have proctor centers that you could use as well. Again, the key piece is it'll be something local. It'll be something, no matter wherever you live. It will be something you'll know, months in advance that you need to take a particular final. And you know that finals in general last about, maybe an hour to 2 hours long. So it'll be very easy to manage for you. And it may only happen 2 or 3 times throughout your entire time here at Mercy College. All the rest of your midterm finals, all of your other stuff will be happening through computer-based testing, through your laptop. The question I get is, why are we proctoring? Why do I have to have my minister watch me take a final? It is a way to preserve the quality of your degree. We want to make sure that the person that is getting that degree is who they said they were, and we did our due diligence to make sure we identified that person at a couple of points throughout their time here at Mercy College, whether you're here 1.5 years, 3 years, 4 years, at least a couple of times during your time here. That way your degree is never called into question. You hear the horror stories about folks who have hired other people to get their degrees for them. We want to make sure that your diploma is never called into question. So that is why it is a good thing. And again, it will not be burdensome. You'll know at the very beginning of a course if there's going to be anything that will require proctoring. And again, it's very wide choices for your proctoring on how you can do that. And we'll coordinate with you. For example, if it's a final, you'll identify a proctor. You say, Reverend Smith at Methodist Church is going to watch it or watch me take the test. We actually mail the test to that identified individual. That person will sit there, make sure that you're taking the test, ID you, make sure that you have, if we allow it open book, that's fine or not, that the materials that we've said that are allowable are there, and that they've ID'd you or, know reasonably that, who you are. And then they'll take the test, put it in a sealed envelope, and mail it to us. So again, we haven't quite worked out on the particular times that we're going to do that. So just know that at some point throughout your time here, to no more than 3 times that we're going to have a proctored event of some sort. Okay. Well, let's move on to our next topic, which just to kind of briefly touch on here. I'm just going to scroll forward onto page 14. And that is student representation. Every year we go to the student body and we ask for 1 or 2 representatives. It depends on how many are falling off our advisory committee. And I believe we are losing 2 this year. So we will be looking for 2 student representatives to be on the program advisory committee. The advisory committee is really a guiding force in the direction of the program. We get advice from them on what they want to see from their generally leadership within the medical imaging community, what they're looking, what they're needing, and then we incorporate that within the program. But we feel it's very important that students have a voice in the direction of their program as well. So we've always had 2-3 members of the student body on there. So look very shortly for a request for volunteers to be student representatives that will be on the advisory committee. If we have more volunteers than slots available, we will have a mini election to determine those individuals. And of course, being an online program, you are not required to physically be present. What we would do is have you come in basically through a phone conference. We have a way that you just simply dial in and you'd be kind of listening in and being able to ask questions or pose any kind of suggestions throughout that meeting. Meetings are held twice a year. So if you're thinking about volunteering, the time commitment is twice a year, and the meetings run about an hour and a half. So not too bad, but it is a little bit of a time commitment. So, and we really would like, if you do volunteer, that you can attend. Of course, both of them would be great, if not at least one of them throughout your time here. Okay, so that's student representation. Let me just, we're going to go on to our last topic of highlight here, and we're going to go all the way to nearly the last page of the program handbook. Okay, here we are. We are on the last page, page 20, and this is about licensure status. Basically, what this paragraph says is that you're required to be a licensed radiographer. You are required to be registered with the ARRT and maintain yourself in good standing, or with the NMTCB in good standing as well if you're a nuke med person. So just make sure that you are in good standing. If you have anything that falls out of standing, or if you're in any sort of probationary period, just please let us know with that. If for any reason we do find out that you're no longer a certified rad tech or nuke med tech, that would be grounds for program dismissal. So just, again, communicate with us should anything like that ever happen to you. And hopefully that never should. So, all right, with that kind of just covers the basics of the program handbook. You are, again, required to look through it, be aware of the contents that are in there, and also you will be required to sign a form that you have received that. So look for the steps for that particular little mini assignment to sign off on that and submit that to the Dropbox. If you do have any questions about the program handbook, of course, you're always free to contact me. You can either put that in the virtual office, or you can contact me directly through telephone or voicemail or email. Other than that, thank you very much for watching this brief introduction to the program handbook.